Here we are backstage at Festival Hall. I'm sitting with the one and only Dave Mustaine of Megadeth. He is in town as part of Gigantor along with Static X, Devil Driver, Lacuna Coil and Bring Me the Horizon. And he's got a brand new album out now through Roadrunner called United Abominations. Dave, do you ever get sick of doing these big gigs?
No, not really. I think it's fun, especially if you have fans that are as loyal as Megadeth fans are, and watching Gigantor develop itself down here in Australia. It's really neat because this is something that is an international idea that Australian fans have embraced, and in the States and Australia is the two countries right now where Gigantor has laid down some roots. Being able to come down here and do that, I'll be back here as the ambassador for Gigantor when I'm not playing on it. It's not like every year it's Ozfest where Ozzy has to be there. Gigantor is a spirit, it's a way of life, and that's how that's going to go down.
Did you handpick the bands for Gigantor?
Yeah, I did. It's not bands that I was necessarily a fan of, because some of the stuff was bands I've never heard. I just listened to their music after it was explained to me that I should check them out. I hear them and I like them. It's like, okay, let's go. There has been a couple times over my career where bands were on the bill that I didn't necessarily care for, and it's just kind of a bummer when you come to play and there's people there that you just don't necessarily subscribe to their mentality or their music. We did a show in Scandinavia one time, and it was REM and Oasis and Faith No More and Megadeth and Sheryl Crow and Bo Diddley, and I'm looking over at Bo Diddley, I'm saying, bro, you and me are in the wrong place here. Two token acts there.
I guess you're almost when I say grandfather of metal, I use it in terms of a patriarch of metal these days. What's out there at the moment that you feel's really flying the flag as far as metal goes?
I don't know. That's really hard to say because these bands are so new. Ask me that question 5 years from now when they've been on the scene and they've had to write their follow-up record. The second record's harder to write than the first one because the first one you've had your whole life to write. The second one you have to do in a period of about 2 years. And then, you run into bands that go out there and you just don't know how to tour. They self-destruct. They come out there and it's like free girls, free booze, free drugs. Then the next thing you know, they're in a rehab someplace. Look at people like Barry Gibb, first to fame. The guy couldn't handle it. He kills himself, And I think that happened to a lot of people. Look at Britney right now, how she's self-destructing. She's got everything under the sun that a person could possibly want, and it ain't enough.
That's true. And no camera up his skirt, by the way. Never mind. Just from reading what you've said about the current album and stuff, there seems to be... you seem to be against the trend in modern metal of overproduction, where albums have become very clinical and cold-sounding, like a pastiche of Pro Tool loops and quantized and all that kind of stuff. Whereas you haven't done that with this record. You got in there with the band and played. Do you think that that's the way it should go back to?
See, the thing is, if it went back to that, about 5 million bands would disappear off of MySpace. There's supposed to be 7 million bands on MySpace right now. And as soon as Pro Tools came out, any idiot that could play a guitar chord and push record, is able to make a band right now. Point in fact, look at bands like Milli Vanilli. They're totally prefabricated, and you've got some of these glass production things like these young kid acts that go out there. New Kids on the Block, Boys to Men, all that kind of stuff.
Bring Me the Horizon?
I don't know anything about them yet, but I know that when you look at some of these bands that are put together by somebody else, there's usually an underlying ulterior motive. You know what I mean? And that's what I like about metal. Metal's always been kind of like, this is what it is. Some people in metal, they're not really that talented and they're not really that intelligent and they do the best they can. But you know what? We're salt of the earth. There's only one guy I know in heavy metal music, and Sharon Osbourne pointed this out to me. There's only one guy in metal that wasn't, that didn't start from meager beginnings, like we all did. We're all basically just down-to-earth people.
Well, speaking of metal, though, like it's almost a fact that metal fans are more conservative than even country and western fans, in the sense that, in terms of what they consider to be true metal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
I totally agree.
yeah, I mean, I was going to say, do you find that ironic that, considering metal has this reputation of being so progressive and hardcore and forward-moving and outside the box, but really it's quite, a lot of metal fans are quite static in terms of what their expectations are.
Right. Well, I think a lot of that is because heavy metal, when it's good, it brings such a feeling of safety and a feeling of satiation, where you just know, hey, there's somebody out there that knows what I'm feeling. There's somebody out there that's been through it, is on the other side, and is an example of somebody who's a victor. I think that out of that knowing we found the well, that it's something to be coveted. I know there's a lot of people that are fair-weathered fans. They'll like one band one year, and then the next year I'll go and I'll see them, and they've completely changed their hairstyle and changed all their clothes, and they've gone from being like a guy that was a metal kid turned into a hip-hop guy. It's the worst thing I can possibly imagine, walking in and seeing one of my friends with his hat turned sideways and his ass hanging out. What happened? Well, I sold all my Venom records for 50 cents.
You're probably sick of hearing this question, but I mean, pretty amazing story, your comeback in terms of your arm, the nerve damage and stuff like that. Your story is an inspiration in itself, but then to have that happen and go so far backwards, almost lose playing, and then come back and keep kicking ass. I mean, was it a mental thing? Did you have to really say, I'm going to beat this?
I could give you a number of answers, because on any given day I had to rely on different parts of who I was in order to get through it. Because when I initially had the injury, the guy told me that the doctor said I would get 80% use of my arm back, but that I would never play guitar again. And that was pretty.
That's not really 80%, is it?
Well, it was stunning to me. It was almost shocking to the degree where I thought, what, this is it, end of the road. And then I realized how much, I really identified with being a guitar player, how much part of my life that playing guitar was. And as I tried to learn how to play again, it was difficult. I did 4 months of physical therapy and then another 13 months of physical training after that, and it was something that I really, really needed to dig deep down inside of myself. But the great thing about all this is that there. Again, it's a story of overcoming stuff. It's a victor, one of those things where people can draw from this and say, what, if he did it, I can do it. And I love doing that stuff. I love being able to be challenged and to come out and win and share that with my friends.
Well, I think all your friends are grateful that you've come up with another album and are out here touring, mate. So I just recently spoke to Serge Tankian, and he's bought a house in New Zealand, is thinking of moving there one day and all that to get away from America. You obviously would never do that? Never think of buying a house down under or anything?
It's not true. I like Sydney. I found it to be very lush and very appealing to me, with the big city appeal and the Australian, the sexiness of the city and the class of that Victorian kind of upbringing. So no, I'm not anchored to living in the States. Although if I did move down here, I'd want to keep my American citizenship, so I'd hopefully be granted dual citizenship. But we've already talked about that. The whole thing with Gigantor. Going forward, we thought, hell, I'll be down here every year anyway, because I'm playing one year and I'm hosting the next.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Dave, it's been an honor. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, and you're not, and you're on Beat TV.